Hi, I'm here with Alessandro, bass player from Slipknot, and this time we're in his home studio. So thanks for having us here.
No.
And I guess first, just tell us
Why?
why? Why have you built such a treasure trove of stuff?
It's from years and years and years of collecting and hoarding, from teching or whatever you want to call it. I got to a point where I'd always want to play stuff, or I'd want to record something, and then it would always mean I've got to plug that into that needs to be plugged in, and then I wouldn't have the right adapter, or that's 120, that's 240, and then that gives you a ground hum if you plug that in. So I was just like, well, I'll use the money well from my time in a band to build something that's not in my house, outside of it, that I can come to work in, and hopefully with a touch of a button everything would work, but it's been about nearly a year now of making cables, wiring everything, figuring out stuff. I've never ran a studio before, or built a studio, so it's a lot of learning curves and stuff, finding out which gear works well with me, and and it's just, this is it really. So it's not a case of went on Argus or Reverb and just went, I want that one, and that one, and built it. It's a lot of it is stuff that's either come from my old band days, or or touring gear that I've had that never got used ever again. And it's kind of, this is all the newer stuff really is like monitors and stuff like that have kind of pieced it together to make it an actual studio. I think another big issue was like sound and making sure that the room works in a studio environment and not just causing more problems by recording. So I've tried to address as many things as well in a kind of amateur sense. I know it looks a bit more pro than amateur, but I think I wanted to do it right. And
sure. Well, when you've got the background as a tech as well, it's
right,
kind of second nature, isn't it?
But it's funny how you go from like unbalanced to balanced cables and stuff, and wiring stuff like that, and it's learning how, especially because I want to play guitar into the balanced world. That's been another eye-opener for me, of figuring out how to get the two to work very well without there being ground hums and stuff like that. And it's a slow progress, but it's I'm finally getting to the point where I can just sit down, press a button, I can play what I want, and it'll work. Yeah,
it's basically the pro level version of the motherboard pedalboard builds.
Yeah,
really, isn't it? Pull out everything in the drawer and plug it all together.
Right, exactly. And I feel like when you're doing stuff, or you're trying to like write a riff, or you're trying to get into the creative spirit, and you're like, right, I'm going to go and do this, I've got this idea, I was sitting on the couch with a pedal or something like that, and like, right, I'm going to go play it now. And then you spend 40 minutes trying to find a cable to plug it in, the power adapter's missing, do you know what I mean? And by the time you've done that, it doesn't work. You haven't got the thing.
The moment's gone.
The moment's gone, and because I'm still stuck in my analog realm, that's the reason why I have such the collection of older amps and pedals and whatnot. That's why I'm trying to did this, so it's more, I can use the nice bits of gear that I've always wanted to use, and I can just go boom, there you go.
Sure. We'll get to some of these pieces in a minute.
Yeah.
But so what are you using this place for? Are you doing your own side projects? Are you doing Slipknot stuff in here?
So because of touring, that's knocked on a lot of the come home, do things, and like the same thing with like Jim in the band, where it would be like, he wants to come home and relax, do his bike stuff, and everyone wants to do their thing, and it's where I'm from, and like I've always wanted to just tinker around with gear and stuff like that, so it's kind of like my little mad scientist place. But it'd always be like on the last record, this kind of was like a small version in my living room, and then it was just like, I can't sit and have dinner and just have all this shit and just fucking go on the living. I think I actually when I had a meeting once with Alex at Origin, and he was he was just like, "Is that your dining room?" I was like, "Yep, Fred." So you know, it was like I wanted to do a demo. I wanted to, you know, program some drums. I put some bass to it, send it to someone. You know what I mean? Like that kind of process, and you know, it got to the point where, you know, you didn't feel like you're doing like, you know, I needed my own space, and this is it. This is the
You kind of can't have somewhere you've got to keep too tidy because you just want to be able to use it whenever the moment strikes, right?
Right, exactly. And it's just like I've been in bed where I've got like a melody in my head, and I do a lot of stuff on my phone where I'll have like a whatnot, and I'll just go say something into the voice memo, and then I'll come straight in here. It's on the cloud. I just pop it up on there, I drag it into Pro Tools, and then I'll sit there with the guitar or the keyboard, and I'll just come up with something like that, you know. And that's a lot of things have been quicker like that. Whereas before in the past, I've had something, I've forgotten to do that, it's gone, and then like 2 weeks later, I have something in my head, and it's not that melody, it's actually someone else's music that I've had stuck in my head. So it's
like the song in a
like
dream.
the song in a dream.
Wrote.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
No, it's Fleetwood Mac.
did I write Sgt. Pepper's? No, I didn't. So, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's, you know, and I've, you know, and then with my partner, I mean, she plays in the band, and I've been helping them out with her band and doing their album. So it's been a good learning curve as well to do vocals and recording. Like she plays harp, saxophone, flute. To get to like doing those type of instruments, not just micing up a cab, you know. So.
Yeah, it's good shakedown for the whole build as well, and
Right, exactly.
get all the bugs out of it.
Yeah, there's still a few bugs in places, but you know, I just built the cab room outside, and you know, so much cabling running through the walls and stuff, and testing it, and at 3 o'clock in the morning you're just I'll get on with this tomorrow, you know. So.
Testing something other than what you've got plugged in.
Right, you know, and it's just you know, it's a lot to take on, and also go on tour for 2 months, and then by the time you come home, like the last thing I want to do is touch a soldering iron or turn on Pro Tools because something needs updating, something, you know, the hard drive's corrupt, and then that's it. That's my day. You know, I'm trying to. Why doesn't this piece of gear work? Because they've updated the firmware whilst I was away. You know, and then that's a 45-minute ordeal trying to figure that out. And so,
nice thing about having all this analog stuff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's another thing. Keeping the gear at a level that it will always, you know, stay in its, you know, how it should be made. I mean, sometimes I put something on and like I've got a ground hum on the effects loop of I built this little Soldano amp around the corner, and it's just like, why is that not working today? And it's just all because there's a cap inside wasn't right, you know, and that's another day of not being so you know so that's it really. It's my hell, but it's also my kind of relaxation time, you know. So.
Yeah, it's weird how that works, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
So should we talk about some of this collection of stuff?
Yeah, sure. So this monstrosity is the one here on the left is all my favourite preamps collected from years and years of playing. There's a couple of new pieces in there as well, but I was always a big VXT Fryat fan. So a lot of the gear is like finding stuff on eBay, or you know, I'd go on tour, I'd be teching, or I'd be in like Germany, and I'd find like this Starfield, which was like made by it's made in Leeds, owned by Ibanez, I believe. It's all written on the back. Made by Hiwatt.
Okay, right.
With a Soldano design, I think. I'm pretty sure it's the weirdest amp. So I found that like I was on tour with Architects, and I think it was like £300 sitting in the corner of the shop. And I remember.
Did you find the preamp and the power amp together?
Preamp all together.
For 300 quid?
300 quid. And apparently they did a Michael Jackson record with the preamp. So, I don't know. There you go. So it's that's another one. You know, the classic ADA that was from the, what's his name, Nuno Betancourt back in the day.
Sure.
Soldano Caswell was just one of those amps that, you know, the first time you'd ever seen something with robotic recall.
Yeah, like, that's the one that caught my eye.
Yeah.
They're rare as hen's teeth, aren't they?
I got that. I bought that from Alessandro Cortini from Nine Inch Nails. Another weird purchase. I think it popped up on my Reverb whilst we were in Germany, and I sent a message on Reverb and said, "Hey, he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't want to deal with it because he didn't want to ship it to a hotel or something." I was like, oh, by the way, I play bass in Slipknot, so just any chance you can just help me out on this one because I really want one. And once I said that, it was like, boom, 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 done. And then it was sitting at the hotel like a couple of weeks later.
Yeah, nice to be able to pull the Slipknot card, I guess.
Well, it was more, I think he thought I was just some dude, because, you know, $5,000 for the unit, he thought it was like a scam or something like that.
Or so time waster or something.
Exactly, or something like that, and that happens a lot on Reverb, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mesa Boogie gear, the classic quad preamps, tri-axis.
Yeah, there's a lot of iconic stuff in it.
Yeah, the JMP one. I mean, I just remember Iron Maiden and Deftones.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything's kind of got its own matching head to pre to power amp. But the beautiful thing I did with this was that some power amps sound quite good with different preamps. So there's a switching system in it. So I can change with this guy here. I can turn to the stereo, but I can go like that, and I can flick through each power amp. So whatever preamp I'm on here, I can just go boom, and then it'll switch to.
Just audition power amps.
And I can audition the power amps, yeah.
That's cool. Is that so? What's controlling that then?
So it's a company called N Audio that do my live switching for my two Mesa Boogie power amps.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a unit at the back, and then everything goes into that. And then I just run the MIDI to here, and then boom, 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 that goes through all 4 power amps. So this is the switching. Sound Sculpture is the main preamp switcher, which then takes in like my effects pedals and stuff like that from the desk. So then I can just go, right, on this Sound Sculpture software, I can just pick what I want and then just go dunk, and then it goes straight to the VHT with the Soldano or EL34 with the Mesa Boogie and stuff like that. So
nice.
yeah, and it's fun to hear like how different amps reacted with those things, and that was one of those things where I'd be like, if I had to do that, that would have been like a 6-hour just
Yeah.
trying to find the one cable that's long enough that can reach to there, and you're trying to move the power amp. Yeah, I was just like,
well, you just wouldn't do it, would you? And
you wouldn't, and then so it's nice to be able to do it, and it's fun to come in and just piss around with stuff like that, and to hear the difference between why 6L6s work with one particularly really well and why EL34 works with other amps.
so I guess I've not seen one of these Sound Sculpture things before, so maybe tell us a bit about that.
So back in the teching days that I was doing, I was always like big up on looking at what other techs were doing with like bands like Muse, because when Muse started leaving like the Barfly kind of era, they were just playing with their pedal boards just turned into big racks, and then the big racks turned into bigger racks, and then their switching systems were always Sound Sculpture, and it's like a matrix, so you can make you can split your signals. So instead of like an RJM where you just daisy chain the loops, or like a GCX Voodoo Labs, this is just, you can then go, that can go to there, and then you can split that 2 outs, and then you can do stuff that once again, making cables would take you
100 years.
100 years, and then you'd always have so ridiculous amounts of ground humps. So
Yeah, because like a normal loop switcher would just be everything in series, and things are either in the signal path or not. So you're saying this thing, you can basically plug any input and output into any other input and output. And
yeah, you can
like a sort of modular synth kind of thing.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
all kinds of ways.
There were certain things when building this one, a bunch of the older units, especially the ADA, the Starfield, and the Rectifier preamp, it just hated being connected to certain things. So there's a bunch of, another one of my teching tools from back in the day, there was a guy called Mike Hill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was like always the rig guy. And I remember we were playing a festival with my old band, and I'd used him before for when we were doing Fight Star and some other artists. And he made this little thing called the BizBox, and I swear by it. And it was one of those things where you just pop it in, keeps your signal it's one of those other company like Voodoo Lab, no, not Voodoo Labs, Morley. They do like their hum eliminator thing.
Sure.
I always find there's a bit of like tone sucking to those type of things, and like top end, you can hear it. Whereas his hum eliminator was just, you'd never know it was in like there was something in between.
Right.
So
There's lots of ways to do isolation, I suppose.
there is, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of companies that do a hum eliminator, but I find a lot of them tone sucky. So, and especially with the older gear, you can hear it in the front end of when you're playing with especially like with a pick. But yeah, so there's a few of them in there on those type of older units, and they work really well with it. So yeah, and then obviously some of the gear that I bought was when I was in the States, so I have to use the Furman. That takes in the power and drops it down to 120. So there's a couple of 120 units in here. And actually the Soldano's 110 Japanese, so there's another transformer in the pack that takes 120 down to 110, just so I can use the Soldano without. I could run it at 120, but it's so old and precious.
Probably a bit scary for all the digital side of things.
Yeah, I was just like, you know what? I've heard that 120 is fine through 110, but I just leave it as it is. So, but yeah, that's that one.
There's the brand new stuff as well, I've noticed.
Oh yeah, and then Baz Kim, who runs it, Zuta Amps, he somehow has managed to stick really big sounding. I mean, it feels like the amp's like that big. I mean, I don't know how he's managed to get all the bits and bobs in there to make a 4-channel amp, really, with all the effects loops, and it's got noise gates. It's got, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect it to be that size, really.
Yeah, exactly like a VH4 pretty much, because it's got the same kind of just MIDI switching, everything like that. And in a 3U rack. And it's actually not that deep either. So you could probably put it in like a shallow effects rack.
Oh yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, and so that, it's one of those ones where it's great to see like rack coming back a bit, because not many people use amps anymore, so it's nice to see companies still trying to let amps, I think you can fly with that, but it's very well made, beautiful amp, and it's up there with like the diesels and the Uberschals and stuff like that. So yeah.
So all of these amps, are these incorporated in the same switching system, or is this a separate? Right,
so this one is, if I wanted to, or if I get too crazy, we can go, everything runs through the Ampy. So sometimes when I didn't have the cab room outside and I wanted to like sit and play through stuff, all the amps would run through the SIR, and then I'd just take the XLR out, and then that would go into my interface. So then I could just run IRs
right
through them, and there'd still be a load on them. And then so we have whatever cabs I want to pick, and then you sift through each amp of what you want, and then at the top you've got an FX loop. Hit that, and then that runs to my desk, and then I can insert delays, reverbs, or whatever I want into the heads as well.
As like a sub switching system.
Sub switching system, right?
Yeah, that's pretty sick.
And that's just because I love the sound of the VH4. Back in the day, my old band, I used a VH4 and a Herbert with an Eventide Eclipse, and that in the effects loops run in parallel, and then have the Eclipse on full wet, and then use the parallel loop and just blend it in. It's just I don't know, it was my favourite, and listen to like the ping pong and all the width of the sound of it, and especially you still have that dry signal of the amp just in there as well. And then I took it one step further, and then that's when I would have a wet, dry, wet, and then just 2 fully wet sounds, and then a complete dry in the middle, and then that's your 80s shred rigs, which
I'm a fan of it myself.
Yeah, which is kind of what I can do with this. So I'll take, I don't know, the Soldano, make that wet left and right, and then I can run just down the centre, the diesel here, so, or whatever amp that I want to pick. This is a Soldano. It's don't tell anyone, it's a clone of a Soldano that I built. There's a company called C3 Amps, and I remember trying to dabble at building a really hard to build amplifier without building an amp before.
Didn't fancy a tweet deluxe first then.
No, I didn't, and it took me 3 years to make it work, and I finally fixed it and got it to work, so that's quite good.
Oh well, congratulations.
I learned, yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm learning as I'm going. So this one's an old Rev F dual rectifier. Something about it just sounds crazy, just really tight thickness sound. This is a John Petrucci head Mick gave me. What else? Yeah, these are my really old, I mean, it's nearly 20 years old now, that VH4, and the Herbert on the bottom. This is a friend's amp of mine. I need to give that back to him. Rivera, they kindly, when COVID happened, they had a bunch of gear at John Henry's in London, and they stopped having their gear at John Henry's, and he was like, look, I don't want to just give this stuff away. Do you want to have a head and 4x12s? So I took my dad's van and we went down there and just picked him up. So
don't mind if I do.
Yeah, sure. See, and a lot of this gear I've had, or luckily, if you know, the joys of touring or whatever, someone's like, hey, you can have that if you want, or
something that's about to come out of the rig before the next tour or something.
Right, you know, and it's just like, or a trade or something like that. So I know it might seem like, oh my god, you fucking won the lottery, but it's a lot of it is either been in an endorsement or it's been, you know, something along the lines of touring, or you know, someone's done a deal or something like that. And I think that's kind of like how a lot of people get.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perks of working in the industry for years.
Yeah, and also like when I stopped doing my band and had to go, you know, back into teching and doing stuff like that, and you know, I'd sold a lot of gear just so I could live, because you know, I wasn't making the most amount of money teching, so it was just, you'd have to sell a guitar here and there. So now doing with the band now, it's put me in a fortunate situation where I can buy stuff back that I've sold, and you know, it might not be the same one, but
yeah, like that one thing you really missed.
Yeah, right, and that's one of them there, like the Steph Carpenter ESP. Like I had one of them and I had to sell it just so I could eat some food. So, yeah. And then I went and bought it back. Things like that. So that's the guitars. And then this is my like favourite bass gear.
Yeah, I guess probably most people watching this are going to know you as a bassist. So
right, exactly.
Have a look at the bass rack.
That's probably going to be a comment. Why has he got some guitar gear? Well, let's start over a guitarist. The Mesa Boogie 400 Plus, that's what I use live. It's just my favourite bass amp ever. Then the Mesa Boogie Bassist solid state with a graphic EQ. It's got like that same Mesa Boogie punch, but with that really uber tight kind of solid state punch to it. You know, not as full as the 400 Plus, but it's got that kind of like really, you know, very good for like slappy kind of stuff. Above that is the Demeter or Demeter. So Justin from Tool, he was always using one of them. I tried the one that he used out, but with my status basses, there's that kind of like mid poke I talked about before.
Yeah.
And with that, I can kind of like dial it back because it's got like a parametric MIDI EQ, so I can kind of get, you know, it was a bit too honky with that thing, and just having a mid didn't really do much. So with this one, it's that same pre, but with the sculpting a bit better. The MP11, I remember that Trace Elliott from Mark King used to run one of them back in the day. I could never find one ever.
Right.
And then one day, just out of nowhere, some guy just didn't want to have it anymore. And then
I guess with all the status basses, you kind of need the Mark King amp as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's famous for that amp, but I just remember having a picture of him. Well, I've seen him in a catalogue with Mesa Boogie, and I've seen him in a catalogue with the Trace Elliott, so it was just, you know, why not, you know. And it's, do you know what, whoever had it before me, and if they know that they sold it to me, whoever they did with their settings were spot on. They were really good. So I think he had a status bass as well, because they had all the levels perfectly done. Ampeg, I haven't got actually any Ampeg heads, but all these pre's I can run into the Trace Elliott on the bottom, so you can get that super uber clean thing, like I was saying, like. Yeah. But I mean, that thing is huge. That the PPA 1200 on the bottom, it's the heaviest thing you've ever picked up.
That's a solid state power.
Yeah, solid state. It's completely individual channels A and B, so you can really go on loud in that one. And then the classic Sounds amp. I mean, the David Eden. Back in the day, my buddy James in sixth, he was always rocking that with the power amp. I always loved the tone of that, so I picked one. I mean, I found one of them online for like $320, and the tone you get out of it is not $320. I mean, it's really good sound. Sounds amp, yeah, classic Sounds amp. I mean, it's on every record pretty much.
Yeah, kind of got to have one.
So you've got to kind of have one, you know, and it's like some people want to use it. And I think that's another reason why I did this place as well, is that, you know, if I'm away or whatever, other artists want to come and use it, if they want to do guitars, they've got guitars, you know, so you don't have to try and find majority of the stuff, because I think I collected it all. But yeah, and then that's it for the amp world. I do have, you know, like the Quad Cortexes and the Tone Master from Fender and Axe Effects, you know, because they're modern day equivalent of stuff. But I don't do any like capturing or anything like that with it. It's just purely for to have it.
Just for convenience, I guess.
Convenience, and you know, but if I'm like going to demo something and I need to go really quick, I mean, I've been going straight into this Soldano, the new Soldano preamp, and the IRs in that just off the bat are great, and I just play some guitar and it's done. So that's been my kind of go-to at the moment. I've been kind of enjoying that one.
Cool. I guess we should probably have a look at the drawer as well.
Oh yeah. So this is kind of like my collection of favourite pieces over the years. So it's in a RJM loop, so everything's just on and off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Cali, I mean, all the Origin effects are the ones that, these are like my favourite pieces. So I would go crazy with overdrives, but I think I found what I've always wanted with overdrive, and it's been this pedal. I kind of keep just going back to that one instead of messing around with different companies and stuff like that. So I think that just stays in here all the time now. Oh, another thing I should mention, I find a lot of amps, they lack some sculpting with EQ. So this runs through another smaller sound sculpture, which then runs into that. I can add in this Mesa graphic in any of the amps in the effects loop.
Ah.
So I can do some fine tuning as well.
Oh, that's handy, yeah.
And this is like, can't find these anymore. I don't know why they don't make them. They're such a great pedal. But yeah, so these are my compressor for bass. So I've got it so you can, you know, it's bass and guitar all in one pedal board pretty much. So
yeah, just depending on which ones you select.
Right, exactly. So like the Future Impacts, like for your synth bassy kind of stuff like that, and the Totality pedal that I did with KHDK, that's in there as well. And you know, I can run this through synths as well, so if I'm doing like software synths, I can just stick this through the radial I have on the bottom, and then I just do an insert on my Pro Tools on a track.
Oh, so you just got an aux send coming.
Aux send's going to the radial, and then I can just turn that on, and I can plumb that in through the synth. So
nice.
Yeah, everything powered by Chocks or Siox. That's another thing. When plumbing all this stuff together, and I've had to use like another power supply or something like that just to see how it works. And I've got, oh god, where's that ground hum gone? And I've lost half my ground hums just from using these power supplies. They're just super clean, isolated, no issues there. And then this side of the board is like my kind of like pedal effects that can go through any of this stuff here. I've got this H90, you can just mess around with the routing and stuff like that, and I've got one loop on one send on that I can put through the front end, so you can have like a front effects in front of the amp, and then I've got stereo in the back end.
Oh, so you could have like other modulations and things like a phaser that sounds better before an amp and that kind of thing,
exactly,
right? Yeah, because that does all the parallel stuff for your wet dry wet rig as well,
exactly.
I imagine.
Yeah. And then the microcosm and the chroma console, they're just such great texturing effects. I love these two with keyboards. It just makes something really small just massive. So yeah, that's the pedal board pretty much. It looks like it's going to fall down, but no, somehow managed to do it. So that was another thing. Like, I didn't want it on the floor. I want to get to it quick. I want to, like, if I want to change the knobs quickly or press the button to turn it on and off, it's just there, and I just pop the tray shut and then boom, done. And then underneath the patch bay of how I patch things in still. I still have to manually plug something in.
Just about. I think you've done pretty well. And it's a few hardware effects pieces as well there, so.
Yeah, I mean, classic 2290 TC Electronics, I mean, it's I don't know, playing bass through that is just wonderful. It's such a beautiful sound. The Even-sided Clips was back from my old days of touring, playing. The Lexicons, with my girlfriend's band, I've been using the PCM 91 on her vocals, and it's stunning, stunning reverbs. My old G-Force TC Electronics, and then the Eventide H9000, which is just, you know, same thing again. The routing you can do in there just to make kind of really cool, crazy effects is just very inspiring, and you kind of get sounds that you just would never be able to, you know, just sitting there some days and just moving a thing around, and you're just like, oh wow, I've just come up with something in my head that spawns something from else. So
yeah, and I imagine you can plumb all of that into all of this stuff as well.
Yeah, the H9000 has 8 ins and outs. 4 of them run through the desk into the inserts with the Apogee Symphony. That's what I use for my ins and outs. That's the Mark II, and then yeah, so I can put any inserts that I want on that, and then I have the other 4 for this, 2 in the front and 2 in the effects loop. So, but yeah, that was another issue, trying to blend, getting the line level unbalanced things to work in the same wheelhouse and having the right impedances and stuff like that. So that was kind of a big learning curve really for that. Got there in the end. Yeah, and then to the desk is SSL. So I was thinking about, do I go the whole route of just having like a Neve, one of the newer Neve desks, nothing crazy, 16 channels, but I don't know, I like the idea of the digital aspects of it and the easiness of just loading up a session and it's all there, as opposed to recalling on like an analog desk and stuff like that, and then I have to start looking into like the city money to have like something that did like, or you know.
Yeah, well, like you say, if this whole thing is meant to be about just getting to the sounds when inspiration strikes,
exactly,
then you don't want to be sitting there for an hour recalling a desk. So
yeah,
having a control surface makes sense.
Yeah, and then so yeah, SSL for that. The tuner, always Peterson. And then I've got my old, this is the Little Labs. It's kind of like the hub for the guitar world. So we've got bass coming out of that on the outputs, and then we've got the guitar rig over there on the output A. And then in the front end I have this Cali 76, the old one. That just, I don't know, I kind of go between that and the newer one, but I've got a very nice old P bass, and it sounds wonderful through that. For the old guy, the old Cali 76, so that's staying there. Underneath, another more Little Labs stuff like mixing DI signals with microphones, phase alignment for that, reamp boxing, so I can, you know, anytime someone's got a riff and it's, you know, it's hard to kind of like, it's going to be a while to be able to redo that riff again or something like that, I can just reamp it out into that and get a proper guitar sound from it. You know, another thing that's, oh, I need to reamp this, getting the cables out, trying to plug it in. Now have I got the power supply for that, and so it's all plumbed in the Symphony, so it's another kind of, you know, ready to go. So the whole the microphone aspect of the system, it runs through these flock audio. So there's 1, 2, 3 of them, and they run all the compressors, the mic pre's and stuff like that. I'll get to them in a minute, but they're all digitally controlled analog patch bays as well.
Okay.
So I can just open up the session, I open up the patch app, pick like Apogee 1, Apogee 2, and then I just move around on here what one I want, move it to that, and it does it all for me, and I'm not doing that. So it just, and once again, speeds the process of getting a sound really quick. And then once I've got that, I've had that sorted, and I just now have, what I'm doing bass today, I just click on it there and it does it all. It's already a preset already done for me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, so, and it was a learning curve to try and get that all plumbed in and to figure out all the ins and the outs, and is it this, because you know some people label things in a different
Yeah, bit of trial and error.
a bit of trial and error, but getting that working was great, or that needed a firmware update, or you know, those type of things. But once I got that working, that's been like a godsend to making making a coffee, getting in here, turning the computer on, pressing bass, and it's there, seeing the signal pop up on whatever pre that I'm using, and I'm just going doom, and it's there. And that's like,
yeah, that's the good way to invest your time, isn't it?
right, exactly. As opposed to, like I said before, where it's been a bit of a slog, and then I just can't be bothered, and then
Yeah.
right. So this is the mic pre's are out and compressors and stuff. So we've got SSL at the top. Heritage Audio have been kind and hooked me up with certain bits. Joe Barisi, where we did our last record with, he got me in touch with Avidis, and he's got me into having these pre's and some EQs, and they're your classic, Neve pre's, but in a, I think they've been kept to a real, the build quality and sound wise is just such a high level that I couldn't tell the difference if I was going to be in a studio. So for me, I think these are great enough for me for what I want to do. And have some more SSL-y stuff, distressors, just the industry standard stuff.
Gotta have distressors.
Yeah, and then down the bottom we've got GainLab Audio. They've been working with Bob, our front of house guy, so they sent me out this awesome compressor. Audioscape, LA2A style, 76. Great pieces of gear, and such a great price point as well for someone trying to do a studio and not spending $8,000 on a vintage LA2A, So, and then Heritage Audio again had been doing all the 10 space 500 series stuff for me. So when we were recording last, I was doing the Neve 2264s compressors, and then Heritage Audio, they do their own. Well, they did their own, and they don't do any ones half a pre, half a compressor. You can't have both on at the same time, but I've been using them for compression. This back 500 Pete's Place, that thing's incredible. The compressor. This Wes Audio stuff has been great to mess around with. I always found finding a piece of gear where they have their own software for it, so that's why the cables are coming out of it, and you have say if you had a fab filter plug-in, and it's you can move the hardware around, but it's a plug-in.
So you have a control interface for the hardware,
and it looks just like FabFilter or something like that, and it's just and then you can just save it, recall it, and it's still analog.
Oh, brilliant! That's cool.
So that's a really interesting aspect to me for studio stuff. And then here's some more Heritage pre's and stuff. Everything's got its own little different flavour, and it's nice to sit in here and try different things out and see what works really for what I'm doing, and finding out new bits of gear and learning that way. And I think that's been such a a massive gain for my kind of understanding of how this all music industry works,
Yeah.
So yeah,
I guess we should probably have a look at some guitars and basses, really, shouldn't we?
yeah. Oh, I should.
You mentioned this. Go on, sorry.
Oh, my last one I've got is we just started working with it's under here, the Cranbourne Audio. Another one that's it can be controlled by your software, but still analog, and it's like a harmonic EQ. So it's an EQ, but it's more of a flavour enhancement.
Right.
And that thing's incredible with bass. I watched a video on YouTube, some guy playing with one of them, and it was just it sounded so great. And then I just got into contact with them, and then there we go. Speakers. Everyone. I mean, every studio we've always gone to, Genelex have always just been that company to use. So I've got these just. It's one of those ones where it's very familiar for people to come and be a part of, and they know where their ears are with them,
Yeah.
But this company, Unity Audio, Kevin from them, hooked me up with these boulders, and they're just whenever I just sit in the middle and just listening to like reference songs and stuff like that, it's just the clarity that you hear from them is just insane. But yeah, they're ridiculously heavy. They're a pain in the ass to lift up, but sound amazing. So yeah.
You mentioned this vintage Fender bass earlier. That isn't what our viewers are probably used to seeing you with. So
yeah, I got this from Bass Bros. The first record I did with the band was the Grey Chapter, and Greg Fuderman had very old P bass, and I think it was just one of those things where at the time when we were tracking, just the way that I played, the bass just really couldn't handle drop B, and it was just so clacky and stuff like that, and I had to like hold back on the way I played just so I could kind of get a fuller sound out of the strings, really. And I don't know, just playing so many like modern basses, and everything's got 18-volt pre's or stuff like that. It's nice to have something that's just
the opposite.
The complete opposite, and it's fun to play. So that never leaves standard E, and it's got flat wounds on it as well. So, but I believe it was a 60, either 64 or 66. But yeah, I got that from Bass Bros, who I buy a lot of my basses from. He always gets some great things in.
I think, based on the logo, that would mean it's a 66, but I'm sure somebody in the comments can confirm that.
I should check my emails. Maybe I'll check my emails when we take a little break, and then I'll tell you what it is. But yeah, I don't know. It was just I walked in there, and he goes, "Oh, I had this for like a month at home," and he was like, I wasn't too sure he was going to sell it or not. And I came in there, and my buddy James was like trying to find a bass, and I was like, I don't really want to spend the money on it, but it would be nice to have a vintage piece of gear of bass. So I listened to it, played it, and was like, right, okay, I've got to get it. And yeah, it sounds incredible, this thing. So I think I need to get like a really nice little Ampeg, kind of was it the
B15?
Yeah. Something like that. This is a new ESP that they just sent me. They found that in the warehouse. It's an old 90s Horizon neck through thing, had no pickups in it or anything, and I sent them some Bartolini's, and they just sent that to me the other day. So it's a beautiful little bass. It's great.
Yeah, that's cool. What else we got over here? I see some of the usual status stuff.
Yeah, I got my statuses in over there. This one's a weird one. It's got like a crazy headstock design on it. So like the tuning pegs kind of like dip down. It's actually quite ergonomic, to be honest, but bit weird to get your head around at first. There's a Chris from Muse bass, another standard 4-string. This weird thing, I found it at Bass Direct. It was like 600 quid, but it had a status neck on. Oh, by the way, yeah, so whoever made this, please tell me who you are. They made the body, stuck a status neck on it, but it's the biggest
I was going to say, isn't that like scaled up?
It's so big, but I don't know. I feel like they did such a wonderful job at it. The finish is great, but it's so unique looking. And it sounds amazing. It's got Nordstrand pickups in it, Babbitt's bridge. Like it's a proper, very nice instrument. But whoever made that
with a giant body.
Giant body. I don't know why. I remember. Yeah, once again, James.
It's really thin though as well. So
it is thin, yeah. I mean, James laughed at me when he saw it, but I love. I don't know. I loved it. So whoever you are, if you watched this video or you know someone who made it, please let me know. Old vintage copy Fender. I don't have any Fenders or vintage Fender gear apart from that bass, but when we were just about to do the last record, Grizz, our tour manager, he's a big Fender fan, and he's been looking at these relict custom shops, and something about the paisley coming through underneath.
Yeah, that looks wicked.
I was just like, okay, I'll join the club. So got that guy, and that's really cool. Old baritone ESP Viper, Horizon, another Horizon, and Steph Carpenter, one of the old ones from the old days. Yep, bass rig, and then this I used quite a bit on the We're Not Your Kind. It's an upright electric bass, but it's fretted, and we'd put that through some effects and use that for a guitar amp. And I'd like
buy like Varco stuff.
Yeah, and just get like real cool kind of sub. When the string hits and the guitar speakers going, and like you got crazy like reverbs and delays going on. It was such a
like weird pads and things.
Yeah, and it was great to thicken up certain bits and bobs. Drums is purely because having an idea and sitting there and moving MIDI notes and stuff like that, I find a little bit tedious. And I've always had a little thing for playing drums, and
just like a trigger pad sort of thing.
Yeah, and obviously it's a bit of an expensive trigger pad, but I always wanted it to be where a drummer could come round, I could sit here and it wouldn't be loud, and they could play, and it would be going to like Superior Drums or Get Good Drums or whatever, and you'd hear their feel and their actual playing, and not just everything quantized to the beat, and not be loud, and I can sit and play along to it, and then I've actually got something to demo off of. So yeah, I think after this we've got Eloy coming around for a bit, so it'll be fun to piss around with stuff like that, just he's probably going to change the whole setup and everything and complain about it, which is going to be great.
Well, it's all part of the learning curve, I guess, isn't it?
That's why I kind of did it. So at the moment it's set up for bass player at the moment, so we'll see.
Come and tell me what's wrong with my drums.
Please tell me what's wrong with my drums, yeah. So we tried doing it before when we were at gyms. We did some demoing, and we kind of did the same thing, but we had like those clip-on Rolands. We put them on Jim's kit at his house, and we put them on everywhere, but he hit so blooming hard on his drums that trying to get the triggers to play nicely. So these ones were all like internally mounted, so fingers crossed we can make that work. Yeah, and then everything's kind of got, so there's a monitoring system you can plug into on either side of the room. There's one in the vocal booth, so yeah, I can send them whatever outputs I want, and they can just sit along, play along, listen to it and stuff like that. So it's like a little mini studio, but yeah, it's my girlfriend's harp I bought her. That's quite nice to record. It's been quite a learning curve on that one, trying to deal with like phasing and stuff like that. And then that's the vocal booth. It's just, that was another thing, trying to figure out like how soundproofed you can get it and to make it work. So there's not that much bleed in here if you've got to crank it a little bit. So there's a couple of trial and errors, so I had to rebuild that twice. Figured that bit out, and that corner is just my little amp corner, and a couch obviously, because everyone needs to sit in here and do nothing. Just look at it.
That is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like the hours that it'd be.
I mean, I thought